Revelation 16, the 7 bowls of God's wrath. This is it, the final, swift, and complete judgment poured out on a rebellious world. So, first things first, you got to understand the stakes here. The book of Revelation talks about earlier judgments, right? The 7 trumpets. Think of those as escalating warnings, like a final call. But the 7 bowls? Totally different. We are way past the point of warnings now. This isn't about trying to get people to repent anymore. It's about a final, decisive end to all rebellion. The whole feel of the story just shifts dramatically. And to really get just how different this is, we've got to look at one specific Greek word, orge. The original language is so precise here, and it's key. This isn't just being mad. Orge means a pure, unmixed fury. It's not corrective discipline, like a parent trying to teach a lesson. Nope. This is the full and final execution of judgment, period. Okay, so the judgment begins. The first 4 bowls get poured out on the physical world, and they're aimed right at the domain of what the text calls the beast's kingdom. Now, that's a symbolic term for a worldwide anti-God system, both political and religious. A lot of commentaries see a direct parallel here to the plagues of Egypt, seeing this as God judging a new kind of global oppressive order. Let's just walk through this for a second. The first bowl, painful sores on anyone who follows the beast. The second, the sea, which often symbolizes global commerce and nations, turns to blood. The third hits the rivers and springs, the very sources of life. The fourth cranks up the sun and scorches people. But, and this is the important part, look at that last column. After every single one of these devastating plagues, what happens? They did not repent. In fact, it gets even worse. After that 4th bowl, they start to actively blaspheme God. And this brings us to the absolute crucial point, the main theme of this whole first act. Even when they're faced with just unimaginable suffering, humanity refuses to change course. Their rebellion is now fixed, it's final. According to the text, this isn't because they don't have enough evidence. It's a willful, hardened choice to never turn back. And now, everything shifts gears. The judgment escalates. It's moving from the physical world to the very heart, the very source of the rebellion, the throne of the beast itself. The attack is becoming direct, aimed right at the spiritual and political power center of it all. So, the 5th angel steps up, pours out his bowl, and this time it's aimed directly at the throne of the beast. And what happens? Darkness. An immediate, profound, symbolic darkness falls over the entire kingdom. Now, we're not just talking about a power outage here. This darkness is symbolic. It represents the total collapse of the anti-God system's authority, its order, its glory. It's a kingdom thrown into complete confusion and despair. And yet, what's the result? The text says they were in such agony that they gnawed their tongues in pain, but they still refused to repent. Instead, they blasphemed God. Okay, now let's look at the 6th bowl, because this one's a little different. It doesn't unleash some immediate plague. What it does is set the stage. It prepares the entire world for the final, ultimate showdown. And this bowl leads us straight to one of the most famous and, let's be honest, most misunderstood concepts in the whole book, Armageddon. So what is it really? Yeah, the theological commentary is super clear on this. The term comes from the Hebrew Armageddon, or Mount of Megiddo. Now, Megiddo historically was famous as a place where decisive battles were fought. So Armageddon here isn't a specific dot on a map. It's being used as this powerful symbol for the final winner-take-all showdown between God and all the assembled forces of rebellion. So how do these forces all get together? Well, first, the great Euphrates River dries up, which symbolically removes a divine barrier, kind of opening the way. Then, you get what commentators call an unholy trinity. That's the dragon, the beast, and the false prophet. They unleash this wave of demonic propaganda, described as unclean spirits that look like frogs. And their one single goal? To deceive the leaders of the world and gather them all for one final battle against God. And this brings us to the climax. The 7th and final angel pours his bowl out not on the earth or the sea, but into the very air itself. And with it comes the final judgment, punctuated by this single definitive cry from heaven. From the very throne in the temple, a loud voice declares, "It is done." This is the moment. This is what all the previous judgments have been building towards. The judgment of this age is now complete. And here, this incredibly powerful theological parallel. The Greek word here for "it is done" is Gegonen. It means the absolute completion of God's judicial work. and it acts like a bookend to another famous cry, Christ's last words on the cross, tetelestai, which means it is finished. That cry marked the completion of God's redemptive work. So you have one cry that completes salvation and another that completes judgment. So what follows this divine declaration? Just total cataclysm on a scale never seen before. The text describes the greatest earthquake in all of human history, a final, absolute upheaval that just shatters the old world order. This is the end of the line. Babylon the Great, that powerful symbol for the world's corrupt, rebellious system, is judged, and it just falls apart. The cities of the nations collapse. Massive hailstones, just this overwhelming display of power, rain from the sky. And in the face of this absolute final judgment, what is humanity's last recorded act? To once again, and for the very last time, blaspheme God. Which leaves us with a final, really profound question. This interpretation makes it clear that the whole point of the 7 bowls is not to get people to repent. So if these final, terrible judgments don't lead to a change of heart, then what is their ultimate purpose? Well, according to this reading, it's to demonstrate the fullness of God's justice and to bring a final, decisive end to a rebellion that has become permanently, irrevocably fixed.